Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're looking at Superman from Theory11. Joseph Schuster moved with his family to Cleveland, Ohio in 1924, where he would go on to later attend Glenville High School. It was there that he met young Jerry Siegel, and the two would begin publishing a fanzine called Science Fiction for their classmates and friends. For issue number 3 in 1933, they conceived of a bald, telepathic supervillain bent on world domination and would call the issue The Reign of the Superman. The character didn't really catch on and was never used again, but a year later, the pair began to think about retooling their villain as a hero, modeling the character on some of the famous film stars of their day, and even giving him a bespectacled alter ego in the form of Clark Kent, a character inspired by Schuster himself in part. Siegel and Schuster believed wholeheartedly in their creation and set out to find a publisher for this new Superman. But it wasn't until years later that they attracted the attention of publisher Henry Donenfeld, who paid the duo $135 for the rights to Superman strips. And Donenfeld featured his newest character on the cover of Action Comics #1, today arguably the most iconic comic book of all time. And with that, a legend was born. Superman would become a cultural phenomenon, ushering in the golden age of comics and inspiring the creation of most of the most famous comic book characters that we know and love today. Superman himself has seen countless adaptations across TV, movies, books, and more. And there's no character that has had a bigger impact on the world of comics. So it's only fitting that he gets his moment in the yellow sun as the feature of one of Theory11's latest decks. Now, I grew up a big fan of the Man of Steel. He's my favorite comic book character of all time. So this tribute deck was a no-brainer for me personally. So let's check it out. This one comes from Theory11, but the artist behind this one, feel I should give them a little bit of credit. Most of the work was done by Clark Orr. He's done some work with Theory11 in the past. Phenomenal artist, but also some credit to Matson Creative. Russ Gray over there did a lot of the work as well. And then Harold Apple also collaborated on this one. So a trio of very talented artists worked to put this one together. But let's check out the deck. The tuck box, always a big selling point for any Theory11 deck, and this one is beautifully done. It's given this matte finish, bright, vibrant colors, and it's inspired by the pages of your, the newspaper comics or something like that. Just beautifully done with that matte finish. Embossing on this one, very subtly done, and a super vibrant scene. Of course, the red, yellows, and blues on this one, very reminiscent of Superman's costume. And just beautiful symbology all the way through. Of course, the Superman logo in the center there serves as the name of the deck. And then you get little details like the rocket ship, the one that carried Superman from Krypton to Earth, featured up there at the top. You get the Daily Planet. There's a look at what I presume is Krypton there in the corner. And then you get the skylines in the background of both Krypton, his native home, and then Smallville, where he would eventually move. Or rather, Metropolis, where he would eventually live. But beautiful looking front to this one. And then the copy here at the bottom, very reminiscent of the old comic strips here, but you got the playing cards by Theory11 featuring the daring exploits of the one and only Superman. Beautiful look to this one. And then on the sides, you get Superman with Theory11 and kind of that retro looking emblem there with the Superman logo. And the other side, same thing. Bottom here has your ad copy for Theory11. And then on the top, you get the kapow kind of covered up there by the seal, but lots of times to do like kind of action scenes, you would see the kapow or biff or whammo or something like that on there. So kind of a cool little touch. Back here gives you an embossed version of the back design of the cards. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then the postage stamp style seal here featuring the Daily Planet and then the 10 cents, kind of like you would see on an old comic book cover. Beautifully done here. Has his most famous nickname, the Man of Steel there, and of course Theory11. As you open it up, a little bit more with the Superman logo, and then the famous, of course, it's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's Superman. The inside, another retro Theory11 style emblem, and then the US trademark there on the other side. And you get some nice interior printing on this one. So you get the, of course, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. And of course, the simple Superman emblem, and then the those blue and black stripes kind of forming all the way through the interior. So cool little interior touch to this one. But overall, beautiful tuck box, really nice embossing to give it that kind of luxury feel. If you're a fan of the old comics, this one will definitely hit the spot. But let's check out the cards. So sometimes Theory11 gets a little bit of a knock for having really fancy tuck boxes and then going with kind of monochromatic cards. But these are not. I think the back designs in these are beautiful, really hit the mark for that retro Superman vibe that they're going through. Of course, the main design element here is Superman's outfit there, the emblem right there on his chest. You can see him breaking the chains, kind of a show of strength. And of course, his invulnerability highlighted with a bullet bouncing off on the other side. But really cool look to it, and then reflected on the other side. And then here in the center, you get the rocket, of course, the one that carried him from Krypton, and then the skyline of Metropolis there in the background. Other little details, like I love the look of the Cape here, kind of stretched out and forming those little lines off to the side. Beautiful look to it overall. And again, that trio, the yellows, the reds, and the blues, really giving it kind of a vibrant, fun feel to the back design of this one. Really cool look to it. Brings in so many elements, but I think does it nicely and cohesively. All right, but then on to the faces of the cards. So we'll start out with the two Jokers that you get in the deck. And these feature a little bit more minor characters from the comics. So the first one here, Krypto, the super dog. So Krypto was actually one of the test subjects for an earlier version of the rocket that would eventually carry Kal-El or Superman over to Earth. But he was an early version, so his rocket went off course, but eventually Krypto and Superman were reunited on Earth when Krypto finally made his way there. But much like Superman, Krypto has superpowers. So you can see him there balancing the anvil on his nose. Kind of a fun extra little character. Glad Krypto made an appearance in the deck. And then this one, you got Prankster and Mr., I hope I'm saying this right, Mr. Mxyzptlk. These are two kind of comical characters from the early days of the comics. Prankster, kind of like the Riddler from DC or from Marvel Comics, used a lot of like tricks and gags and things like that to mess with Superman. But one of the enemies that he faced. And then this one over here, Mr. Mxyzptlk, was one of my favorite of any Superman character. He was kind of a quirky character who came from the fifth dimension. So his storyline was basically he would come to the third dimension and he would have reality warping powers that he could use to mess with Superman and others. And his only weakness was if you could get him to say or write his name backwards. So his name backwards is Keltipsixum. So if you get him to say that, then he would be banished back to his own dimension, at least for 90 days before he would return again. But really fun recurring character that you see across some of the different comic books and TV shows and stuff. So very cool to see that one. That's one that I remember from being a kid and one that I was really glad to see overall in that one. Two other, I guess I would call them ad cards. One of them, Superman there, and you can see Clark Kent ripping off his shirt and revealing his Superman outfit underneath. And then just some ad copy there at the bottom, the classic Superman font there at the top. And then the other one, just a page from the Daily Planet. So the Daily Planet, of course, where Clark Kent as Superman's alter ego, that's where he worked as a reporter. You can see the Superman story featured there on the front page. Very cool little ad card there. I like that one a lot. All right, so the four aces are all beautifully illustrated custom aces, starting with the Ace of Spades. And very fittingly, this one is the cover of that Action Comics #1. So the iconic scene with Superman holding up the VW bug there before it crashes into some bystanders. Very cool look to it. The 10 cents there. I think that was the original price of the comic. Superman across the top, again, more ad copy. But Superman kind of with the backdrop of that gigantic spade pip. Beautiful tribute to the original comic, the one that started it all, and just a fantastic Ace of Spades. The other three aces also feature some maybe slightly lesser known little bits from the Superman universe. You have the Fortress of Solitude here. This is the Arctic hideaway where Superman would go just to get away from it all whenever he needed to. And he kept some of the famous artifacts and things like that he would keep hidden there away from prying eyes. This one, the Bottle City of Kandor. So one of the arch nemeses of Superman was Brainiac, who was a collector of different cities and civilizations. And so what he would do, he had this shrink ray and he would shrink the cities down. And so this is the city of Kandor, one of the Kryptonian cities that he actually shrunk down into a bottle. And Superman, when he defeated Brainiac, he actually took the city and he has it stored in the Fortress of Solitude, where he's kind of working on trying to re-expand the city and bring it back. There's the Bottle City of Kandor is the ace of clubs. And then the ace of hearts, of course, is the rocket. It says the rocket to Krypton. I think that meant to say the rocket from Krypton, but this is the one that carried baby Kal-El, which was his Krypton name, carried him to Earth, where he would crash into Earth and be discovered and kind of form his identity as Clark Kent and as Superman. So beautiful looking ace of hearts there. Love how that one lays out. So there's your 4 aces. Really like seeing the custom aces. Now, unlike the custom aces, the pips on this one, all fairly standard. Nothing too special on these. You get a little bit of a custom font and a custom shape to the pips, but they're just classic black pips, red pips. A little smaller than usual, but nothing too special on these. So there's your diamonds into the clubs and the hearts. So fairly standard on these, keeping this a nice usable deck. But the court cards, you do get full custom court cards. And again, really borrowing on the vibe of those Golden Age comics, these really bring some of the characters to life. Starting, of course, with can't have a deck without a Superman card. So you get this here as the King of Diamonds, Superman featured, beautiful comic book art style with that bold, flat coloring on this one. Really nicely done. And again, the blues, reds, yellows really helping this one stand out. And the King of Diamonds, so not all the cards are, but this one is a 2-sided. So you get Superman on one side and then his alter ego, Clark Kent, the reporter, on the other side. Really like the use of the 2-sided card on this one, kind of featuring Superman on both sides. Very cool look to that one. And then Superman's main love interest and fellow reporter, you have Lois Lane here as the Queen of Spades. Beautiful addition of the purple here, kind of makes this one stand out. But really cool looking pose, kind of giving you the feel of your classic court card poses, but of course giving you that comic book vibe all the way through. Another reporter, I think he was the photographer in a lot of different renditions, but yet Jimmy Olsen here as the Jack of Diamonds, another one of the closest confidants of Superman. I think he was one of the few people who actually knew of his alter ego and knew who Superman truly was. And then Queen of Diamonds, this is Supergirl. I don't know in all the renditions, but in the ones that I know, she was actually Clark Kent's cousin. And so she inherited some of the same powers being Kryptonian. So you can see her there bending the steel bar in the center. She's got the cape. Of course, she can fly just like Superman can. So another kind of ally that he has through some of the comics. And then also get a look at some of the villains that haunted Superman throughout his time. Here's Brainiac, one of his most formidable foes. Brainiac was the one I mentioned who shrunk down the city of Kandor, so you can see his shrinking ray there. Kind of an alien who was obsessed with collecting knowledge throughout the universe. There's Brainiac as the Jack of Spades. General Zod, this is, for me, one of the most intimidating characters in all of Superman lore. He was the military leader on Krypton who kind of tried to take over Krypton and was banished to the Phantom Zone for his crimes. And so he basically survived in the Phantom Zone, survived the destruction of Krypton, and then eventually, once he escaped the Phantom Zone with Superman's help, ironically, then turned his attention and tried to conquer Earth instead. So another one of the very formidable, because he had those Kryptonian superpowers, one of the formidable foes that Superman faced. Next up is Darkseid, probably the most powerful of the foes that Superman had. He was basically a new god and the ruler of the planet Apokolips. Truly menacing creature. He was actually one of the main foes that the entire Justice League would take on. There's Darkseid, a very cool kind of dark vibe to this one. And then the most famous of all of the supervillains that Superman faced, this of course is Lex Luthor with the LL on his chest. Lex Luthor was a businessman in some, just a mad scientist in other versions of the comics. But either way, he saw it as his mission to basically get rid of Superman and remove this scourge that he saw on humanity. There's Lex Luthor. And then the Queen of Clubs here, I'm actually not sure who this one was. I did a bunch of research, couldn't figure out who this one is with the green S emblem on there. I don't know if it's meant to be Lana Lang maybe or somebody like that. So I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you know who the Queen of Clubs is. But anyway, turning on, and then we get some family members as the Hearts here. And the King of Hearts, this one is, of course, Jor-El. This was Clark Kent's or Kal-El's father on Krypton, the one who saved him and put him in that rocket to send him off to Earth. And of course, you can't have Jor-El without having Laura Lor-Van, who's his mother. So you get the husband and wife there, the two who loved him when he lived on Krypton. But he didn't just have Kryptonian parents. These two obviously perished when Krypton was destroyed, but when he made his way to Earth, he was fortunately found by these two. So you get the final two-sided card, and this one has his parents who raised him in Smallville. You can see him there, them both there on the two-sided card with the baby there in the center. There's little Kal-El or Clark Kent there in the middle, and then the two parents here. So they're usually known as Jonathan and Martha Kent, the Kents, but they actually have a bunch of different names in the comics. So Martha was originally named Mary, and then they became named Eben and Sarah. But they went through a bunch of names. I still know them as Jonathan and Martha Kent, nonetheless. But cool to see them get a feature on the Jack of Hearts. And that is it. That is the deck. Beautiful, fun deck overall. Hits every nostalgia mark if you're a fan of Superman or old comic books. I think just a fabulous deck through and through. So kudos to Theory11, as well as Clark Orr, Russ Gray, and Harold Apple for their design work to put this one together. Just a fantastic deck if you are a fan. If you like the comics like I do, this is a must get for you. By the way, hope you enjoyed this look at Superman from Theory11. That's it for me for now. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings, and let me know what else you want to see. And I'll see you for the next one.